What's up, everybody? Um, in the spirit of being thankful and, you know, thinking about what you're grateful for, things of that nature, I wanted to kind of use this opportunity to highlight the brilliance of women in sports, media, business, medicine. I think it's important for us to take the time to acknowledge the contributions of women in this world and understand the role of men that we play in this role in this world. I wanted to come up here and kind of highlight women in different fields and things of that nature, but I feel like it's so many different things that they've done over the last few years and just in general to kind of pinpoint something. But it's been very inspirational. I think a lot of times it doesn't get talked about in every field. It doesn't matter which field it is. And so I wanted to take the time to express my appreciation, my gratefulness, speak to all the men out there, understanding that the path that women take to get to the same goal that we take is different. And so, have some empathy and, really be mindful about how you support not only the women in your life, but the women in the world with the things that they want to get done in their life. And so, I just think it's important to look for ways to help with that. I think it's important. There's a lot of things that they do in this world that we don't talk about enough. There's a lot of ways that we can help, whether it's, investing in a woman founder, whether it's understanding, the obstacles that they go through, whether it's medicine or media. So I wanted to say, A, I am grateful, and B, I challenge, men to have an open mind, have an open perspective, and, do your part in whatever it looks like to help move that needle forward. And it's more of it because I do feel like the role that women play now and in the future is an extremely powerful and extremely important role. And so I'm open to conversation. I understand that I'm still learning. And there's still a lot of things that I don't understand, but I want to understand. And I challenge men to challenge themselves in that world. So that's what I'm thankful for.
Bobby, aside from your mom, was there anybody else that had an impression on you, maybe when you were growing up, or even in current times that made you kind of think about this?
My mom was the biggest. My mom was the biggest one, to be honest. Obviously, I got two older sisters, and so, they played a huge part in how I grew up and just understanding, what they kind of go through on a day-to-day basis and just like how you treat women. Like I think my mom was always on me about how I treat the women in my life, and it wasn't just like girls, but just like, your aunts, your sisters, the respect that you need to have. And I would say there's a bunch of people, whether it's in business. I was fortunate to meet Maya Morg because she's with Brand Jordan, and so hearing her story is dope. But there's so many different other stories that women do some special things in this world. And, sometimes we don't always acknowledge it. And so I had an opportunity. I thought it was a great time to be thankful. Everybody's looking for something to be thankful for. And, I feel like it was an opportunity to kind of help steer their direction.
Did you know Maya's story and her path before you got an opportunity to meet her?
I knew a little bit of it. I heard about it. The first thing I heard was when she, stepped away from basketball to kind of focus on this. That was the first time I heard about it. And, I was just like, wow, like, what is she focus on that would take away from something that she's been playing her whole life? And, I was fortunate enough to hear her tell her story when we were at the Brand Jordan kind of event. And, the way she spoke, how passionate she was about it, I thought was really cool. And so, like I said, it's so many different other people, whether it's in business, whether it's, in ownership. There's a lot more women in the ownership position. And, I think it really changes the way, because we're so used to, in my opinion, the world being one way and the world seeing something one way. And I think, women provide a unique and amazing perspective.
You have a woman team owner now, obviously. What's your interaction with Jody Allen, if at all?
I was able to meet her right before we were talking about like my contract and stuff. So she came out to the field, and so I was able to kind of meet her. I haven't been able to have like too many interactions with her, but from what I've heard and been around, she's like, really locked in, really into business, knows her numbers. Like a lot of times, like, people think that she don't know what she's talking about, but she stepped right in and knew exactly what was going on, understood everything that was going on, and she picked up where the business kind of left off. And to me, from what I saw, she's done an amazing job. Obviously, I don't know the day in and day out, but she got a lot of respect on this end.
It was the first time you met her before you did your contract?
Yeah, that was my first time. She came out. She came out in, I think, OTAs, or I can't remember, but she came out and I think that was her first time being out there on the field and just kind of seeing everybody. And I wasn't practicing, so I walked over and introduced myself.
Was she involved in like the contract negotiation at all, or?
On my end, I didn't speak to her directly. I was more so dealing with John and Matt. But from their perspective, she was communicating everything that we talked about every time we were meeting or anything like that. They were going back to her, and they were kind of telling me her perspective and how she saw things as well. So she was providing a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, and she definitely knows what she's doing.
Bobby, in terms of the game on Sunday, you often talk about this being a copycat league, and the Cardinals obviously focused on the middle of the field and the short passing game. Do you expect Washington to kind of follow that rule, and how do you slow that down from happening again?
Yeah, I expect them to kind of do the same thing, but it's also in their game plan naturally. I think what they do is they run a lot of cheese concepts, and we call cheese concepts is they put something in front of you to make you eat it and throw something behind you. So they run a lot of those, so they're going to have those. I'm pretty sure they're going to have a bunch of screens for sure. And, this quarterback does a really good job of trying to get the ball out of his hands faster, or at least they try to do that. And so it'll be a lot of quick game, and then they have a very good running game to complement the stuff that they do. So if you watch the last few games, they really been clicking, and I expect them to do what they've been doing. It's been successful, and those concepts will come up. Trying to get us out of the middle of the field, it's going to come up, and so we just got to be on it and ready to go.
Is pretty heavily involved in their passing game. What do you see from him?
Yeah, they're kind of using him like a receiver type, but also a running back type. But they move him around, and so they try to find different matchups, whether it's even on the linebacker, but even like a safety, or they feel very confident in his ability. So they're gonna move him out. They're gonna bring him in. They're gonna put him in the backfield, hand the ball off to him. They're gonna swing him out and put him in space. And so they like to move him around, and he does a really good job when he has the ball in his hands and getting upfield and getting yards. So we just he's somebody that we need to know where he's at, and make sure we do a good job of tackling him.
How do you feel like it's been the screen conversation's been an ongoing conversation. How do you feel like you guys did in that regard last week?
I think we had our moments. I think there was one screen that got out for like 12 or 15 yards. Outside of that, I felt like we kind of shut it down a little bit. So, obviously we're getting better, but, as a whole, we just got to, do our job and make sure we find a way to get off the field.
I think Pete said you were one of the players who spoke up a little bit on Monday and about kind of keeping the team together with what's going with the record and things like that. Is that more of a challenge right now to try to do that, or where do you feel like this team is with that?
It's not a challenge, because I think at the end of the day, it's like when you're in a situation like this, like the people are going to look at your leaders, and so if your leaders don't believe, then what's the point in the team believing? So I think it was just important to express the confidence that we have, the belief that we have. We've had some crazy stuff happen over my years in the league, and so The only way that happens, it starts with your mind. It starts with what you believe in and, you know, what you put your energy into. So I was just making sure the guys' energy and focus was right.
Why do you think a turnaround is possible?
Because I feel like when you watch these games and you watch some of the games that we let slip away, a lot of it has come down to us getting in our way, whether it's been dumb penalties, whether it's been, you know, mistakes that we've made. And so, you know, I feel like there's time to, you know, right those wrongs. And all we got to do is right those wrongs and, you know, really take it one game at a time. I think a lot of times if you listen to the outside world and you listen to, you know, the people that are not in the building, they're talking about the end of the season. And you can't talk about the end of the season because the moment you look forward, you miss the moment in front of you. And a team that shouldn't beat you. And so, you know, I think that's my job is just have us focus on, you know, this game coming up, get this win, and then try to get the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. And then when the season's done, we look up and see what happened. But, you know, we can't overlook any teams. We're not in a position to overlook anybody at this point.
Taylor Henneke was thrown into a tough situation earlier this year when he was forced to play. How have you seen him galvanize that offense on film? Because it does seem like they've turned a corner in the last couple of weeks.
I think, because I feel like he had a moment like this last year, and what I see is I think a lot of the team feed off his energy, and they really believe in him. So that's the first thing that you notice is that they believe in his ability. And then he comes out there and he has a little swag when he throws the ball, when he throws a touchdown or he makes a run. And so the team feeds off of that. And so, you know, they rally behind some of the throws that he makes, some of the plays that he makes. I mean, I think the last game he had a gutsy play on 4th down where he scrolls out and, you know, makes the linebacker miss and throws the ball for a touchdown to extend that drive. And so your team feeds off of that. So I think they feed off his energy. You know, he does a great job of trying to make good decisions. And I could tell they have a lot of fun over there.
With Terry McLaurin, he's certainly talented enough to put all sorts of numbers up, but what is it that just jumps off the screen when you're watching?
I didn't get that. Who's that?
Terry, the wide receiver.
Oh, Terry. I think the biggest thing that I like when I watch this game is like the top of the route and like how he goes and gets the ball. You know, sometimes, you know, it looks like there's no way for him to come down with this ball and he goes up and gets it, or he positions himself where, you know, the defender looks like it should be an easy pick, but it falls right into his hands. And so, you know, we got to do a really good job of knowing where he's at on the field and understanding that they're going to try to put the ball in his hands.
The first time you were at this field was the playoff game, the first playoff game of your rookie year and all that. Do you have any real specific memory of that game at all? Or?
The field was trash, for sure. By the time we played there have been so many games there. I think that was the year RG3, right? Yeah. RG3 hurt his leg. I think Clem hurt his leg. And a lot of those plays was just from, you know, the field and how they, you know, at least with Clem and even RG3, like their leg just got caught in a weird space. And so that was the thing I mentioned. I remember the most was just like when we walked out there, the field was hella trash.
Better. You guys played there, I think, Monday night in like October of 2014. Do you remember it being any better?
Oh, yeah, it was way better. It was way better. Because, like, by the time we played them in that playoff game, I think it was, like, had to be January or something. And I remember, like, looking on film and seeing all the dirt. And I think it might have rained the night before or something like that. So I just remember the field being real muddy. And, you know, guys, like, having to wear the long spikes or, you know, to play. And so, yeah, that's what I remember. And I remember Sherm talking a lot of trash.
Anything else, guys? Thank you, sir.
Good, appreciate it. Happy Thankful Day.